What is up, you guys? This is Triston and Zach Brown, your host for the Versa podcast, where we talk all things business, life, and current events. Welcome to new insights and perspectives.
Welcome.
So today, you guys, we're going to be talking about one of our favorite topics that we love to talk about all the time, and that is crypto. And we're going to be going over the 3 reasons why you should be getting into crypto today. Those 3 reasons that we have laid out for you guys is, for one, it is still extremely early in the crypto space. Number 2, it's decentralized and not controlled by any central government. And 3, it is on a world scale, not a national scale. And so we're going to be going into each one of those points on a deeper and more detailed analysis. And so, yeah, we kind of have some good things laid out for you guys. So one of the first things that we wanted to talk about in that first point, we're extremely early. This is the main reason why you should be getting into crypto. And I'm going to pull up this graph, and we're going to pull it up on the screen. But this graph is going to show you exactly the current users that we have today that are in cryptocurrency compared to the internet in 1998. So if we look at this graph, it shows that the amount of users that we have today in 2022 is the same amount of users that were using the internet in 1998. So if we put that in perspective, in 1998, almost nobody was using the internet at that point, right? And so if we take, for example, today, anybody that has a smartphone is pretty much using the internet. And so if we literally compare and contrast, like, where crypto is going to be at some point in time, it just puts it in perspective that the amount of adoption that we'll have over a certain period of time, if it's 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, once we get to that point, who knows where the price of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, I mean, who knows who are the top and most dominant cryptocurrencies at that point in time. But the cool part is we're so early right now that it is such a good time to get into crypto, and especially with the price of Bitcoin, I think today is like $20,000. It puts it in perspective of the price that it could reach with the mass adoption that we could see over the next 10, 20 years. And that's the biggest thing with cryptocurrencies. A lot of people, we want to think on a short term. We want to think short term, and we want to see, okay, how much money can I make this week, this month, even this year? Where in actuality, you have to have a retrospect with crypto, and that's anything investing, is that you have to understand investing is a long-term game. It's not a short-term game. And that's really with anything, obviously, business, whatever it is that you're doing, you have to see the long-term vision. And if you look at any successful investor, Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, any of these guys that have built a massive legacy, those guys have done it for the long term, right? It didn't happen overnight. So
I think that's like a millennial thing too. Like, that's something like we created with Robinhood, like all these new apps. And I think investing has always been a long game. Like, think about like my dad and like investing in the past, and right, because like right now, I mean, you get like all these millennials that got hyped on like stocks and crypto and day trading, and so it's almost like it's changed, like it's like to a short-term investing strategy, which is, I don't think, ever been the case. There's always been day traders and all that stuff, but not like it has been the last like 24 months.
It's become more of a cultural phenomenon than an actual way of life.
Well, and it's with everything like influencers and everyone else. Like, everyone wants to get rich quick, right? Sort of like all the hype with like Dogecoin and all these things. Like, it's like the last 24 months, everyone just like wants to get in, get out. Where in reality, that's not even what crypto was designed for.
100%. But yeah, so, and also too, just the fact that we're extremely early. I mean, if we take the amount of users that we have compared to the internet in 1998, and we compare that across what is currently mined in Bitcoin, if you don't understand mining, what that is, it's a way for the system to have a checks and balance, to where anytime that you send somebody Bitcoin, or you make a transaction, or anytime that the system sends any type of money anywhere, there's a set of computers, supercomputers. It's not like you can have a Mac and mine Bitcoin. You actually have to pay for these miners that are anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 each, because they work on such a fast scale that not even just the general computer can handle. And so you take this massive ecosystem of supercomputers that are essentially securing the blockchain. And every time they secure the blockchain, they're rewarded a Bitcoin in the form of mining. And so the cool part about that is every single time something's mined, every time the system becomes more secure, then those miners are rewarded with Bitcoin or Ethereum or whatever that cryptocurrency is. And so today, as of this year, there's currently 19 million mined Bitcoins in the ecosystem right now. So that means out of all of the Bitcoin that's ever been mined, 19 million has currently been mined as year to date. And so the crazy part with Bitcoin is that there's only going to be a finite amount of Bitcoin ever to be in circulation. And the crazy part is there's 19 million that have been mined to date. Ever, according to the algorithm, that will ever be mined ever is going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So that means we're at almost 90%. What is that? Just over 90% Bitcoin that will ever be mined has already been mined at this point in time. So if we take the consideration of where we're at with adoption for comparing it to the internet in 1998, compared to the fact of 90% of the Bitcoin that's ever going to be mined has already been mined, if we take those two things into consideration and we think of 10, 20 years down the road, and we take all those things in retrospect, like who can even imagine what the price will be at some point in time?
Crazy. Yeah, and honestly, that's one of the biggest things. I think the main pitch for Bitcoin all along, because I mean the crazy thing is obviously Bitcoin, crypto in general, it's gotten big the last 2-3 years with everything, and the spikes. But like I remember I bought my first not full Bitcoin, but I got into crypto like back in like 2016, and back then it was like it wasn't like an app. You couldn't get on Coinbase, you couldn't get on Robinhood. Like I literally remember. I think it was Bittrex it was an app, but you had to actually transfer it from a website. So you literally log in, transfer from your bank account to that account, and then you send off your money to buy this crypto. And at that time, it was still pretty slow. Like the transactions were slow. So yeah. I literally remember like me and like 4 of my friends were like, let's get into this. And so I literally transferred over like $5,000 and I sent it off to this Bittrex account. And it took a while. Like it was gone. Like my money was gone, like nowhere to be seen for like a good 4 or 5 hours because of the transactions and how it got sent over there. So it was pretty scary, like even back then. And I think if I remember right, like late 2017, 2018, that's right before that, like the first big spike to like 19,000. And I remember I bought it and I think I put like a couple thousand into actual Bitcoin and it like spiked up. It went up, like a stupid amount. It was I bought it at like 2,000-3,000, then it went to like 19,000. But then just like the last cycle, it like tanked. So then I just held that. Like I held that like portion of Bitcoin for like 3 years. It was a couple grand, like, spiking here and there, but I just held on to it. But it's crazy because I think the biggest pitch for Bitcoin all along was its main thing was its hedge for inflation. Like what you said, there's only 21 million Bitcoin that are able to be mined, and we're at 19. And so unlike gold or any of these other assets that people have bought over time, Bitcoin, there's only so much. And so the value technically, is there and should go up and hedge against the inflation that we're dealing with right now. Well, there's still some, like so many unknowns right now, like with where everything's going with the inflation, like with the stock market and everything, you can't time it and you can't plan it. But at the same time, with Bitcoin Plus automatically, and maybe you know better than I do, but I think like every 4 years it's reduced. The mined amount is reduced, right?
Right, the halving cycle.
Yeah, by 50%. Right. So I mean, at the end of the day, like it's still so early to get in. And we're talking about Bitcoin. There's so many other things like we've started to get into many other transactional type things like nodes where transactions. I know even like this year there's been I think a handful now of real estate transactions that have happened through crypto. So it's like the adoption is it's still so new, but it's escalating so quickly. You talked about the internet. I look back on cell phones, like when I graduated high school, there wasn't smartphones, and it took 10 years to now we do everything on smartphones. And so it's interesting because we're all on social media, like TikTok, all these things where like I see every day, like both sides to an extreme. Like I literally driving to work today on a podcast, the guy's like, crypto's going nowhere, it's going to zero,
Yeah.
it's literally like going to be dissolved, like it's gone. And then you got the other side where it's like it's going, it's by the end of this year we should recapture back to like 50,000, 2023 80,000, up to like 2030 it could be worth $1 million. So yeah,
I think the reason you have so many people against crypto is because it affects their way of life or business. You take a guy like Warren Buffett, who has explicitly talked about how he's against crypto. And I think the reason that is they probably know that it's going to be around for a long time, and they know it's going to be a new way of life. But at the end of the day, it messes with what has made them money, right? And so I think a lot of times it's more of people getting defensive of what has gotten them to where they want to go. And so I think that's probably a big reason that a lot of big people that we follow don't support, and they don't, endorse. They don't, that's probably a big reason they don't endorse crypto.
Well, and frankly, it's like a lot of people call it the Musk Effect. It happened in like 2020 with COVID, where it's hard because at the same time, like I love investing, I love crypto, and I'm fully bought into the long term game, and that's why like what we're talking, like the short term game, I'm not bought into, is because it's so manipulated.
Right.
You look like the Musk Effect with all the stocks, including like the Dogecoin, thing that went on, where it's like, I'm at fault. I put into it like when I like had like my alert set on Twitter, so as soon as he tweeted, I'd buy. I'd put like $5,000 in, I'd make a couple grand, get out. Like a lot of people did it, but unfortunately, a lot of people also got burned. like hundreds of millions of dollars
I can't imagine.
because of it. So and there's a lawsuit. I read a tweet today. There's that lawsuit's going with like the Elon Dogecoin pyramid scheme stuff. But that's what's crazy. I think a lot of people. It has so many benefits, a hedge against future inflation, all these things. But a lot of people, because of what's happened in the stock market and the crypto the last couple of years, and somehow letting the manipulation part of it get into it, where literally a tweet can alter the markets, I think it's scared a lot of people out of it. Investing's become a lot more between like long-term strategy to emotion, which is, we all know, like you can't let emotion get into your business and your investing. It just, that's not good. It doesn't work. And so I think that's where it's gone, is everyone's trading emotionally now, and people are losing, their lives, their savings accounts, like all the stuff because of a bad crypto move. And they're losing sight of what the purpose actually is and how good and sustainable it actually is. So it's super early, and honestly, you'd be stupid if you didn't get into it at some point and just set that aside and let it run.
Close your eyes.
Yeah.
Never look at it
we
again.
talk all the time. We literally this morning, I was like, I should just log out of my accounts and just like not even touch it for like 5-6 years and log back in and just see where it's at.
100%. So the first reason, like we said, guys, still super early. The second reason, hedge against inflation, not controlled by any government. And the third reason we have for you guys is it's not on a national scale. It's not just US based, but it's on a world scale. So virtually anybody in any country, and there are some regulations that countries are coming out with that. You can't buy Bitcoin, you can't do certain things, but overall, it's on a world scale. And so that's something that we have to realize, is the stock market is on a US national level, right? It's it's confined to US companies. And so obviously the stock market is, it's never going anywhere. It's always going to be around. But if we put it and compare it to where crypto is at right now, and if we think that the cryptocurrency market cap can get to somewhat of where the stock market cap is at right now, which it very well could, but if we put those comparisons into play, and then we put it on a world scale to where we say, hey, anybody in the world who doesn't have a bank account, who lives in a third world country, who doesn't have the same opportunities that we do being born in America, those people are going to have the same opportunities to open up a crypto bank account with Coinbase or, Bittrex or whatever it is. And so if we put that retrospect on it and change the perspective of, maybe my cousin down the street's not buying Bitcoin, but if somebody in, some young kid in El Salvador right now has a smartphone and he's able to go out and buy Bitcoin and use it to conform business, commerce, do all these different things, then I think it changes the perspective of, oh, I'm going to buy a Bitcoin and it's just going to sit there, versus, hey, anybody in the world can buy this crypto and essentially use it to perform business. And so I think that's those 3 points right there are the reasons that Zach and I are completely bought into crypto. I mean, I'll say for myself and I'll let him say it, but I mean, as of year to date, I'm down just over like $60,000 total in amount of money that I've lost in crypto. And it just comes with investing. But I have the retrospect of, in the next 10 to 20 years, it's going to be, widely adopted, and it's going to be at prices that we can't predict, but it's going to be at a very, very high price at some point in time. And so I think if we come with that perspective, then I think we'll set ourselves up and our families for the long term. So
we've become very familiar with the term dollar cost averaging.
Oh yeah.
But it's cool too, because like you think about like a one world currency. Like, I mean, I've been traveling a lot. I was in Dominican Republic last month. We were in Mexico. Like, to have like even just the simplicity of like dealing with like a one world currency, and the simplicity of it, and then also all the other benefits once it can become more stable. Because frankly, I mean, like, I think like recently with all the fluff that I mentioned before, like even like down to like NFTs, I think we know and we've realized that, like Gary Vee said, like 99% of NFTs will be dissolved. I believe the same thing with cryptocurrency. Like,
100%.
Don't get in and buy all these little altcoins and try to make 1,000 10x tomorrow. Like, get into the stable coins, like get into the stuff that's a long-term hold, and it's going to be a good thing. Like, I think that's where we're at, is a lot of people have just got caught up in like the fun game of crypto and less of the world currency aspects of it, of like inflation and just real, applying it to real life. So again, I'm down some money as well. But I think it's a long-term game for both of us. We're in the game of the investing, the holding, and like I mentioned, even the transactions, nodes. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's still early. Crypto is amazing. Don't let the emotion get the best of you, and buy and hold, and you won't regret it. I know that 10 years from now.
Well, we appreciate you guys listening. If you guys liked what we have to say today, make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast and the channel. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.